Hi, welcome back to the vlog. We are just out for a walk on one of Kiri's many network path walks. This one takes us up to the Camera Obscura. If you are new to this channel, I am Veronica. I moved from London to a small town in Scotland about 7 years ago. So what you'll find on this channel is very much me doing what I do on a day-to-day basis and living the life that I moved here to live. One of the many things is walking out in nature, out in the countryside. We're just past the quarry area, which I've heard many times people say that often people rock climb there. But today, because it's a nice day, that's the first time I've actually seen quite a number of people climbing there. Bardwell Farm brisket burgers, little trockery salad, seeded rolls, which were just unfortunately from the supermarket, cheese, gherkins, ketchup, mustard, and we're having it with this You and I kombucha, which we actually picked up at that Aran bakery, which is lemon and lavender, and this is actually a Scottish business as well because they are based in Glasgow. Back home and we actually already ate, but we've got some ingredients to use up from last week's farm shop trips. I'm going to make a pasta bake with what we've got left, mostly to eat tomorrow more than today, but just really we want to get the things used up because tomorrow we will be going to market that's on. There's going to be lots of growers there, and that's usually the place that we do our weekly shop anyway. So we are going to make something with what we've got left. Two bowls here. One is for the pasta bake, which has got celery, carrot and courgette. This one is just some other odds and ends which I'm going to roast tomorrow and do a roast veg sandwich. So there's some more courgette in there, that's the last of it, pepper and carrot. Sauce is made. I also added in some coriander because we had quite a bit of that left, and some Calvanero. Just fine chop that and throw that in as well. Now I'm going to put in tuna and mix it in with the pasta. Grated cheese, topped with cheese. It doesn't look very attractive, but it smells good. This will go in for about 18 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, and that'll be plenty. Next day, and we are just heading off to the Barry Box Market. It is about 11. Market started at 11, I believe. We wanted to get there early and try to enjoy the rest of the day in the garden after we've been there. I was having a little look at the stallholder list. They've got 40 something stallholders, so it should be quite a big market. Some names that I recognise, some not so much. So yeah, I definitely know there's some good vendors there. I believe Angast is going to be there. Hughes Pottery, I've bought one or two things from her before, but we're quite keen to see what she's got today. So I will check back in with you at the market. excuse the mess behind here. We are in the process of doing a deep clean in this kitchen, so everything is being taken out and basically organised, so hence the mess. Little overview of what we got from the Berry Box shop. So we got a selection of berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries as usual. They've had cherries in recently, which is a nice change. We got snap peas, onion, 2 apples, mozzarella. Also picked up some of this Newport Bakery granola, which is, we've had this before and it's nice. It's not something that I would eat as a staple breakfast, just more of when you need something that's a, you know, sweet fix. And also these, we tried the small packet in the past. They were really nice and handy to have as well. So this is another relatively local farm that makes these Scottish berries covered in milk chocolate. Natural, very minimal ingredients, really good to have. Sundays we always tend to get a pastry to have together. So we've got a pain au chocolat and a Danish to share and some mushrooms. This isn't from the Berry Box, but there was a really nice stall there selling lavender, and we have that joint of meat left that we picked up at Little Trockery. It was a Gardswell Farm one, and we actually wanted to make it with lavender, so we bought this in this jar so we can have that as kind of decorative, but we can also take some of this to cook the meat with. Pitt's Candy also had a stall there, which is Venison Farmer. So we've got 2 of the venison caramelized onion burgers, venison sausages, which is always a nice change to have venison with a beef, and we also got venison kebabs. The good thing about the kebabs, which I noticed, was really minimal ingredients and all natural, which was just perfect. Arnglass were also there, which was really nice to meet them in person. We got cucumber from them. We also repurchased this tomato chutney, which we've now finished. They also have a rare breed of pig. A lot of their meat products are pork. I sometimes can tolerate a little bit of bacon, so I thought that we would give this a go. We also bought eggs from them and some cherry tomatoes. We also met loads of other independent store holders, so I'm just going to give you a bit of a roundup of the different ones that we met. Good food, good feelings. I think I've come across this lady before but never purchased. She does a lot of gut healthy products. So there were these wild garlic and rosemary sea salt crackers, which there were samples, and that's really good. Kombucha, which this one was lemon and berries, I believe. Mushroom wraps, which was really different. I really would like to, I'm really looking forward to trying those. I had lots of varieties of sauerkraut, kimchi, and fermented jars. I went for just classic beet kimchi, just as a safe bet, although I could have easily bought quite a number of things from her. She also had power balls. This one was peanut and coconut, maybe. Seen this pickle brand before as well in Berry Box, but they were actually there with a stall today, so we bought this for the first time. Again, there were samples, so that was really nice to try the difference because they had 2 types. This is the milder version. We also usually buy this crazy carrot from Berry Box, but the maker was there today, so we bought it directly from that stall. This is one of the favorites. And hot banana is usually the other one that we buy. There was also these guys who we've never met before, and I've never seen them. Enriched Breading, that's their website name. But they were selling microgreens. They also had microgreen powder, which can be used in smoothies, topping yogurts and things like that. We didn't get that today, but I would be really interested in that in the future. And they also had microgreen shots, which was really cool. So yeah, really like that brand and super nice people. There was a baker there, which was this sourdoughs. They were selling lots of sourdough baked items. So we got a cinnamon cross, and I'm actually realizing now that we bought quite a number of sweet items, but that will do us for some time. There was a macaroon stall, so we got blueberry, peanut and Biscoff, I want to say that is. And lastly, there was these guys who are wee nuts, and we got an almond croissant. There was also a stall there who was selling Tropics. This is not a small brand, but if you've never heard of Tropics before, they are organic skincare, organic natural skincare, and they usually sell through consultants. So there was a number of consultants there for one stall. So I have tried this brand before, and this particular kit had a lot of things which I'm needing, like a cleanser, serum. It turned out that I would actually be saving money by buying this pack over even other brands in individual items, so I picked up that. To give you an overview of what's in the bag, they got the Skin Feast, which is the moisturizer. I've used this before. You really only need a tiny amount, so that's just fine. Smoothing cleanser, morning mist, and these two different serums and a bamboo cloth. It's pretty much towards the end of the day now. It's about 7 p.m. I came home, made food, and was pretty tired after that, so I had a bit of a rest. Because I had a class this evening, I was teaching Tai Chi, so I went to my class, delivered that, and now back home again, just resting for the rest of the evening, apart from taking the dogs out for a walk. Yeah, the Barry box was super busy. The market was, there was a lot of people there, and I always find that really tiring when there's a lot of people. Although I was really pleased to see such a good turnout, and I think some of the stalls posted afterwards that they were sold out today, which made me really happy. I think it's really important to go along to these events, even like I said, even for me who finds busy places quite tiring. It wasn't overly busy, not uncomfortably busy, but I just like being out in nature. We actually didn't end up eating there because the queues were really long. There was a Korean street food stall that I've eaten from before at one of the Rottle markets, but the queue was huge and it just kept growing and growing. So I actually just decided not to get any food from there and come home and make something here, which I think was a good decision in the end. But yeah, again, even though I didn't manage to get food, I was just pleased to see, so many people turning out for it. And it was really interesting actually, because we've been speaking about it over the last few days, just generally about, how challenging it is to be a small business at the moment. In the UK in general, I think it's really a tough time. And I've been a local business, small business supporter for a really long time. I think at the moment I'm finding it more and more important. I mean, I'm a small business owner myself. I came home and I saw two posts. One was from somebody talking about how the things kind of mount up cost-wise for small businesses when they're trying to employ people locally, pay them fairly, source their products, not being able to order in bulk because obviously small businesses don't have those funds available. So it means that their materials cost more and they're trying to create good quality products while still paying themselves a wage and trying to make their products as accessible price-wise as possible, but equally making it worth their while. So that was quite an interesting post. And then I saw somebody else who had posted their experience of going to a market with some handmade products, basically getting no footfall to their store, which was always sad to hear. And that person was quite disheartened and really basically looking for some kind of advice, really. And by the looks of it, they had a really nice quality product. And as I say, I'm a small business owner myself, and I know how difficult it can be. So where possible, I really, try to think about where I'm spending my money. But one of the conversations we've had recently is exactly about that, and how challenging it can be when people question your prices for things. Like, I know from my experience, there have been many times where I try to keep my costs low. So my business is health and wellness. So I offer packages, I do events, classes, things like that. There's been many times when I've done an event, try to offer it as affordable as possible to people, had people attend, but still, you run at a loss or just cover your costs. And I think often people don't realize that people who are self-employed, small business owners, very often earn less than minimum wage because things are so difficult. There's just kind of a different mindset. You often find people don't mind, telling you that your price is too high, even if it's lower than market average. People still don't mind telling you that your price is too high, or asking you to lower your price or to give something for free, which I always find is a tricky balance. I feel like there's a difference when people exchange, so there's no kind of cost involved, but people exchange, service for service. For me, I don't necessarily think that that's problematic, but sometimes people can make very kind of strange comments, and it had us thinking and really discussing about how people, value where they spend their money and how they spend their money. Very often people will go to a big retailer and not question the price whatsoever and just pay the money. But if a small business was asking for the same price for a better quality product, people would question that, which is, that's quite disheartening and that's quite hard. Personally, even before I had my own business, I'm always much happier when I can, probably more willing to spend more money with an independent business, because it just makes sense to me. It makes sense to kind of think about the fact that if I buy from somebody who that's their sole income, that's contributing to somebody's, their mortgage, their rent, their food shopping, supporting their families, all these kind of things. For me, that is how I want to spend my money. And I try these days to be as conscious as possible to shop small and to support others, really. I know that big businesses they employ people. At the same time, there are usually people at the heads of that who have more money than they know what to do with. They're not, questioning if they're going to be able to pay their bills that month, So that really means something to me, to think about where I spend my money. And I think it's just a very interesting culture, the way people approach small businesses and what they're kind of willing to say or willing to ask. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. But then equally, there's the balance, I like to give back and I like to contribute to my community. So there's times when I've done charity events, I've done free taster sessions, I've done lots of different things. And although some people say, there's an affordability, very often you find if you offer something for free, people take it less seriously. Like, I'll give you an example. We offered free taster sessions as part of it was a community event. It was, again, it was giving back. It was part of a charity thing. And we had a fully booked, sold out session. But actually, when the session came, we had 50% attendance. And the people who couldn't make it didn't let us know that they couldn't make it, even though they'd booked a space and that could have gone to somebody else. But it just shows that when people don't pay for something, they don't commit, they maybe don't take it as seriously. Don't get me wrong, there were people who did attend that free taster session and they really valued it. But it's just such a hard balance for businesses. And as I say, there's always overcost. People look at the price of something. For an example, let's take a local potter, local ceramicist. You might look at that and go, think to yourself that that's, I don't know, £20 for a mug, let's say, which is obviously quite a significant difference than buying a mug in a supermarket, say. But equally, that thing is usually unique. No two would be the same. That's one. Secondly, that person has their cost. They have their electricity. They're trying to pay themselves a wage out of it. And there's a different level of craftsmanship that goes into it. And I totally appreciate that it's not always affordable for everybody. I just think there's something in the approach that not everybody, but some of us are kind of missing. And like I said, most people wouldn't go into a big retailer and question their prices, or, email the head of, a big corporation and question the prices. Many people wouldn't do that, but they would do that to a small business. And I just kind of take the approach that there's many times when I see things and I think that they're lovely and I would like to purchase them, but, money is not endless, and you have to look at, yes, liking something is one thing, but can I justify that spend? Would it be responsible? Would it be adult? And sometimes the answer is no, it's not reasonable for me to buy that item at this time because it wouldn't be responsible to my bills. So you take the decision that, no, I can't afford this at that time. For me personally, I would just make that decision and not put that on the person who created that product, if that makes sense, because that's my decision that I have to make. They also have to make a decision for themselves on what price they can offer their service or their product for, if that makes sense. It's not their responsibility to, shoulder those expenses just so that they can make that product affordable for me, if that makes sense. So that's one thing. But also the other thing is, value. If I see something which is, I like it, but I don't think it's worth that money, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not valuable. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person has costed it too high. It just means that it isn't something that I would like to spend that amount of money on. And again, that's a personal decision, personal circumstances. I wouldn't insult the business owner by saying to them, your product's too high, or, oh, that's a bit much. I just wouldn't make that comment because it's very personal. I think the problem comes when people, it's just not nice to make snide comments about people's products and people's pricing, because they have their own reasons why they've priced it at that amount. Really, I think the reason I'm saying this is kind of discussion based. Yeah, I'm always curious to hear other people's takes on these things as well. That's my personal perspective. And also bear in mind, I'm talking to a camera, so I'm not getting immediate feedback. So I'm just kind of speaking what I'm thinking out loud. So yeah, that's another thing. Always take kind of conversations on camera with a pinch of salt, because you're not getting the immediate feedback. So you don't necessarily always explain yourself in the same depth that you would if you were speaking to a person face to face, if that makes sense. I think this is an interesting conversation to have. So I'm more than happy to kind of hear your thoughts in the comments. That is it for this vlog this weekend. Like I said in my previous one, I'm keeping them short. So if you did enjoy this video, please do like, and if you want to see more, subscribe. I'm always looking for new places to visit, new small businesses to explore. So if you have any recommendations as well, please do leave them in the comments. And I hope you will check back in for my next video, and I'll see you soon.